Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. How are you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Yeah, you see what happened? I got tired of you talking.
And?
Oh, you dressing like me.
And? Oh, you wore a tie.
Yeah, that's
You're
right.
playing for a tie today. Congratulations. I would like to say to Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones, you have 24 hours to do something I never do on this show. Compromise,
No.
right?
No.
Compromise. I never compromise, but please compromise.
Dak said he come to the club Shay, but he won't do something for two something.
Really?
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
I don't think you're helping the situation.
Here we go.
I'm trying. It's not really working. Guys, we are going to get to Dak. We'll get to Jerry. We'll get to the Cowboys. But I want to begin by discussing Cam Newton because the Undefeated published a column called The Humbling of Cam Newton. The column suggests that race played a huge role in Cam Newton signing for just over $1 million and hardly garnering any attention from other teams in the league. It continued saying, quote, "There's no explanation for such a small contract for a once transcendent talent other than a league of mostly white execs viewing Newton as not worth the headache, a reputation Newton has not earned." So, Shannon, how big of a role did racism play in the lack of interest in Cam Newton?
There's a lot going on here, Skip. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack, and I'll try to do the best job I possibly can. But we know that black quarterbacks are held to a different standard. They say, like Cam Newton. Cam Newton can get into an argument, and it's like, well, that's not quarterback-like. Let's just say, take for the sake of argument. We saw T.O. and Dez Bryant get into an argument with a position coach. And they say, well, that's a me-first attitude. That's not how you win games. We saw Tom Brady get into it with Bill O'Brien. We see him get into it with Josh McDaniels. And that's just passion. One guy does something is passion. The other guy does something is conduct that's not conducive to winning. Skip, when we look at Cam Newton, and I get it, Cam Newton was injured this year, and so maybe that factored into it also. But I saw Peyton Manning miss 19 months, come off neck fusion surgery, and get $56 million guaranteed. Became the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. We see Brett Favre.
And by the way, he backed it up.
He backed it up.
Okay.
Okay, you can say that because Peyton was, I think at that time, Skip, he was a 4-time MVP. He had gone to the Super Bowl with Super Bowl MVP. So I want to give you that. But there was only a 10% chance that he was going to play again. Brett Favre threw 22 interceptions that year.
Which year?
The year he went to Minnesota.
Okay.
And got $12 million guaranteed. Poor Jameis Winston, Skip, they tell about he terrible. I can't give you one better, Skip. You remember Drew Brees? Almost ripped his shoulder out the socket.
Yep.
6 years, $60 million, $10 million signing bonus.
Okay.
And you see when black guys get released, you see Jameis didn't get released. They didn't re-sign him. Cam got released. What's the first thing out of everybody's mouth? He's humble now. Tom Brady, they didn't re-sign Tom Brady. Ain't nobody mentioned about humble. Nobody mentioned Peyton Manning got released. Nobody mentioned he's going to be humble. Oh, he's going to work. Cam's going to reinvent himself. Ain't nobody say that about the other quarterbacks. Ain't nobody say Peyton going to reinvent himself. Nobody said Tom Brady's going to reinvent himself. No matter how you like it, Tom Brady got humble because the Patriots did not sign him. They had 16, 17, 18, 19 to give Tom Brady a contract extension, and Coach Belichick said no. It wasn't until the last hour, and Coach Belichick knew Tom ain't going to resign because he felt that it was a slap in his face the way I've treated him this long and what I've offered him. He ain't going to resign. Coach Belichick knew that. Coach Belichick was willing to roll the dice. Skip, there's a race element to this. You have to understand the NFL was established in 1920 with the Acme Packers. The first starting quarterback happened in 1968, Marlon Briscoe. So you're talking about 50 years. So when they say you need to add quarterback, all the quarterbacks have been what, Skip? When they say you act presidential, all the presidents have been what in the United States other than President Obama? Well, white. So when they say you need to act quarterbackish, what they're saying, Skip, because all the quarterbacks for the first 50 years were white. So this, Skip, you got to talk with a certain, don't be confrontational. They already think you're confrontational, Skip. Anytime I don't take BS, you're confrontational. No, I don't take BS. So Cam has to present himself in such a way that white quarterbacks don't have to do. They don't have to bow down. They don't have to oh, don't raise your voice or don't say like this. Say it like that. Present yourself like this. Why can't he dress like Peyton Manning? Why can't he go to the podium like Tom Brady? Because that's not them. That's not who Cam is. So, Skip, I think there is a race element. I don't think that is the only element, but I do think race plays a role in this. There's no question about that, because you hear the way people talk when they talk about Cam or when they talk about Jameis, and then you hear the way they talk about quarterbacks that's not the color of Jameis and Cam. It's a whole different ball game. So I think race does play a role in this, although I don't think it's the overwhelming, the 90%, but I do think it plays a role.
Okay. Well said. Hear you. Agree with everything you just said. This whole concept, after I read this piece last night, is so troubling to me that I tried to do self-examination. I don't know if you noticed this, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 pages of notes.
You got a bunch of pages, you do.
This is how much I thought about this
Even
last
for Skip
night.
Bayless.
That's a lot. It's a lot. In fact, it's so much I'm a little overwhelmed by it right now. Is racism alive and well, or should I say alive and hell in this country? You better believe it is. Is racism being challenged like never before in this country's history? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Is that at least a start, a baby step towards some progress? I hope so.
Right.
Now back to Cam Newton. It is unprecedented what just happened to him. I will give you that. Did racism, or at least what I'm going to term an old-fashioned white mindset, play a role in this? Yes, it did.
Yeah.
There's still too many older white men in power, in decision-making power in the National Football League, who were raised racist by their parents. That doesn't mean they are racist, but there's still a subliminal racist mindset working, if you will. Just it's what I call that old-fashioned. It's not old school, because that gives it too much credit. That's like a good thing. It's old-fashioned white thinking. And when white people, I believe, see Cam Newton, there's this little voice in the back of their head that says, no, you can't do that. No, you can't. You got to treat that position with more respect than that. So I'm going to give you, that has been operating in some minds. I'm not going to just condemn the whole, I'm not going to broad brush the whole NFL.
Nor should you.
All right. Now, let me give you my brief history with this. I've told you before, I had the privilege of being sent by the Los Angeles Times in 1976 to spend a whole week with a young man named Doug Williams at Grambling, who I thought was going to be the first overall pick in the draft, quarterback out of Grambling. And I went to Monroe, Louisiana, and then to Grambling, Louisiana, to spend a week with him, and I was taken by it. And Coach Robinson, you know, the great Eddie, I don't know if you ever had a chance to meet him.
I met Coach Rob.
So that's when I told you I called several white gentlemen. They were all white at that point, but one white GM, very prominent, told me he does not have the mental capabilities to play in our league. And I was like, really? Have you watched him?
Right. Because
I got to watch one game on a Saturday. And I mean, you want to talk about lighting it up. And Doug Williams went, I think, 17th overall to Tampa, and the rest is Super Bowl history because he became the first black quarterback to win Super Bowl. So here's my other. Then also in those days in L.A., James Shaq Harris was the quarterback of the Rams.
Now, you know I know Shaq very well.
He was fighting racism right and left, even though we live out here on the left coast in a little more enlightened racial environment, a little bit more.
Also from Grambling University.
Also from Grambling. Thank you very much. When I was at Vanderbilt, we had the privilege of going on Friday nights to watch Tennessee State play at Vanderbilt, because they played in our stadium, and it was Jefferson Street Joe Gillum. And he went on to some Steeler glory in place of Terry Bradshaw for a little while. But I'm telling my history. Vince Evans I covered out here, who was starting quarterback at USC, and he had a pretty good pro career.
He played a long time.
Okay.
He was with the Raiders when I got into the league.
Thank you. And Warren Moon.
Yep.
I got to go up and cover, when I was here at the LA Times, a game, Washington State in Seattle. And listen, Warren Moon was something to behold. And he was forced to go to Canada before he came back here and went to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Okay, that's my history. So at least that was a start here. So I decided just to put Cam in some perspective last night. I went back and I hand counted how many black quarterbacks have started games in the National Football League since those guys started breaking their... you mentioned Marlon Briscoe, who's the Denver Broncos.
68.
I wrote 69, but whatever. I think one of those years, that was the first time a black quarterback actually started an NFL game in the modern era, because you can go back to Fritz Pollard. The Alliance is named after him. That was 1923. He was a black NFL quarterback before it was really what we know of as the NFL. Okay, so from that point on, I count every black quarterback who started in the modern era, and I got up to 98, which is pretty good, right? I got up to 7 Super Bowl quarterbacks started who are black quarterbacks, taken in the first round. 23 have been taken in the first round, pretty good, and 5 have been taken first overall, including this man, Cam Newton, right? Okay, so that's a pretty good sample size. And yet, when we talk about Cam, to me, he's different than any of these quarterbacks in the way he conducts himself. The way Cam is being Cam. He's going to be Cam. And it's just, none of the other black quarterbacks have remotely really been like this. Where they are Superman celebrations, right? So we haven't had any of that. And we've had very few white quarterbacks who've gone that far. Joe Namath was, listen, he was not that popular for a lot of white people, did not like the way he, the long hair and the white cleats and the Broadway Joe and the whole thing. A lot of people. And then Jim McMahon came along for the Chicago Bears. Not a bad quarterback. They call him the punky QB, and he did whatever the hell he wanted to do. But he was backed up by just very possibly the greatest defense in the history of this league, right? Okay, so I'm trying to frame all this for you to get to the point of Cam Newton. What just happened to Cam? Well, he starts off with, he has 3 of his 4 best passing days in his history in his 3 of his first 4 games. How is that possible? Remember what he did? He goes 432 at Arizona, 422 at home against Aaron Rodgers. And then he has another big 350-yard day in his 4th game. And since then, he's never come close to those kind of numbers. Okay, so expectations went through the roof for him. And he's doing Superman, but he is backing it up. So, for the record, I definitely co-signed. I thought he should have been the first pick in the draft. And there were stretches in this league where he dominated at that position the way nobody has ever quite dominated that way. He literally imposed his will on defenses. In physicality and in arm strength. Never been the most accurate passer, but listen, if he started to bludgeon you with his physicality and then all of a sudden, boom, he could hit you with the big throw, the deep throw, and that rose all the way up to 2015. MVP, lifts that team 15-1 all the way to Super Bowl. Did not play great in the Super Bowl. Neither did he play better than Peyton. It was a defensive struggle. He lost it. I defended him after the game because he sulked a little bit. But listen, show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. That's what I always say, okay? So now, what then happened after that year? In the last 4 years, Cam Newton went 23-23 as a starting quarterback. He had 2 surgeries, 2017, 2019, on this shoulder, the throwing shoulder. Not cool. You know, not the best for a guy who has to make his living with his right arm. And then last year, he had what a lot of people consider a career-threatening Liz Frank foot injury, because some people never quite come back from that one. And we're in a pandemic. So he falls into the pandemic. The Panthers don't treat him well at all. They kind of mess with him, and they hang on to him. They say they're trying to trade him. I'm sure they would have traded him if they could have, but obviously there's no takers. You can't bring him in for a physical. That hurt his stock, right? They cut him. He goes on the open market, and he stays on the open market for, how long was it?
3-4 months. Yeah,
it was just
from March until what? The beginning of end of June.
Okay, so here's what knocked me over. There's a team that now lives out here in Los Angeles called the Chargers. They couldn't draw flies last year at what was basically a soccer stadium. It was an embarrassment to them and to this league. But they are moving into just a Taj Mahal of a
palatial estate.
It is it's almost in your ballpark up in Bel Air, almost. $1 billion SoFi Stadium. They need a marquee lightning rod draw, especially at quarterback. And they passed on Cam, and I am dumbfounded. They have an African-American head coach named Anthony Lynn that you've played with and is a friend of yours.
Yes, absolutely.
And yet he is not the decision maker for the team, and I'm not even sure how much input he has. I don't know for sure. But it seemed like made to order for Cam Newton. What better place They have Tyrod Taylor, obviously another African-American quarterback, but a guy who's been a bit of a journeyman. He's not bad. He's not great. And then in the draft, they take a guy neither of us believes in, Justin Herbert. I watched him a lot at Oregon. I just don't love him. And he is now fast-tracked to be the future, the Phillip Rivers, the next Phillip Rivers of the Chargers. I don't get it. I don't get Jacksonville and Cam Newton. In some ways, I don't get Chicago and Cam Newton. But they have sunk, you got a coach and a GM, they sank their credibility, their job status in Mitchell Trubisky. And I think they didn't want to bring in Cam as a threat to make them look even worse with Mitchell Trubisky.
And they sunk their hopes into Nick Foles now because they traded for him and brought him in with big money.
I got you. But Nick Foles is the Boy Scout quarterback. He's not going to say anything. He's not going to make waves. So you can trust he won't be a vocal threat, an ominous sort of threat to your guy, Mitchell Trubisky. He won't undermine him or derail his ability to rise back into whatever you thought he was when you drafted him. Okay, so in the end, I still believe in this league that no matter what color you are or no matter how you act, if you win, they'll look the other way because everybody in the end prioritizes winning. It's what everybody is in search of. And if Cam had continued to win a lot of games, this wouldn't have happened. But it's hard to sell 23 and 23. And then I think you and I both agreed he, quote unquote, died for the cause in Carolina. No quarterback has taken as many hits as Cam Newton has taken over the last, over 9 years. No quarterbacks, not even close. So he could be battered where he'll be injury prone. And I think there's some fear of that. But now I got to address the money. I'm still shocked. I brought it up 3 days ago on the show. Cam Newton is playing for $1 million? Well, don't tell me it's a black thing, that he got, so to speak, whiteballed and they took his money away, because we just saw an African-American quarterback get $500 million, Patrick Mahomes. So wouldn't you agree? I don't think that's operating here. Do you think they sort of said, let's punish Cam Newton?
Well, Skip, when you look at it and you look at Nathan Peterman, I mean, Nathan Peterman, is he any good? He makes $2.1 million. Chase Daniels.
I don't get it.
Chase Daniels is making more than Jameis and Cam.
All right.
So when you look at Skip, I think it's subtle. I give you a prime example. Look at J.J. Watt. Everybody says this guy plays with heart. He plays with passion. He plays snap the whistle. Aaron Donald, he's immensely talented. Like J.J. Watt isn't talented. You see, Skip, is subtleties like that.
Okay, I agree. That does operate.
And so you're like, well, he's just a hard-playing Jesse. J.J. Watt is talented. You look at, and then they make it seem like Aaron Donald doesn't work hard. He's just so immensely talented. He's just doing that on talent alone. He doesn't have heart. He doesn't play hard. It's subtle things like that, Skip, that when you listen,
I agree.
You're like, wait a minute. So are you trying to, what is that about? See, Skip, when we look personalities, we expect our wide receivers, you play that position, you can have a big personality. You play the cornerback position, you can be flashy, prime.
I agree.
So, but you play the quarterback position because all those positions are dominated by what, Skip? African Americans. They always have been, especially since they integrated the league, basically. When the last time you saw a white cornerback? You got to go back to Jason Sehorn. They've only been
that would be it.
Skip, they've only been a handful in the last 50 years, last 40 years of white quarterback. White cornerback.
Totally agree.
So when you see the wide receivers and they being flashy and the dancing and the move, the T.O. dancing and the Ocho Cinco. Okay, that's fine. But not at that position, Skip. You know, you got to be quarterbackish.
Okay. So there's one line in here that's stuck in my craw, and we're going to have this man on this show in a few minutes here, Michael Vick. And the line was, Michael Vick rubbed white America the wrong way long before Bad News Kennels. I disagree with that. But again, I was a big Vick fan when he was at Virginia Tech. And first over, I want to watch the Michael Vick experience. Cannon arm, not just a good arm. He had a huge arm. Again, not devastatingly accurate, but he could devastate you with his arm. It was huge. And obviously, in the open field, there's never been anything like the Michael Vick experience in Atlanta.
I lived it. I was there.
You were there. But off the field, Michael Vick was kind of shy and quiet. And when he scored, he was kind of whitish, if you will. I'll just throw it just seemed like he was pretty conventional and conservative, except when he had the football in his hand.
Skip, you have to understand, Michael Vick and Allen Iverson come from the same, but I think they're from the same area.
They are. Yep.
If you look at Michael Vick, had cornrows, had do-rag.
Okay.
So he's doing his press conference with cornrows with a do-rag.
Okay, I'll buy that.
So
but there's no flamboyant behavior.
No, he wasn't. No.
Right? There's no Superman.
No, there's none of that.
So 98 black quarterbacks have started in the National Football League, but Cam kind of shattered a new mold here, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, he is kind of a solo act, and yet he is a great solo act. And I'll quickly remind you that back in 2015, everybody was dabbing because everybody's into what Cam is doing, right?
Absolutely.
And I didn't sense any racist backlash in 2015.
Oh, well, you heard the fans, Skip. I mean, the ladies.
Okay, I'm glad you brought it up because I looked this up. There was a woman in Nashville who took her 9-year-old daughter to her first game ever, and they sat in the end zone at the Titan Stadium.
Right.
And, of course, the Panthers are just on a roll, and they just rolled Tennessee that day. And because some of the Carolina touchdowns happened she was sitting in the end zone.
Right.
They're right there, and of course he's dabbing.
Everybody's
Superman.
dabbing.
And then the fans there are a bunch of Carolina fans in that end zone, and they start turning on her and her daughter and screaming at them.
Right.
So she wrote a pretty scathing. It was thoughtful but scathing, and she sent it to the Charlotte Observer.
Right.
And they printed it.
Yeah.
And she sent it also to Cam. And Cam, to his credit, addressed it, like voluntarily addressed it, unsolicited, in a press conference the next week. And he said, look, if I offended her, I apologize, but I'm just being, this is who I am.
I mean, how did it offend him?
Okay, I got it. But then she apologized back to him and said, I see the light and I appreciate what you said. You're just being you and you're having fun. So it felt like this sort of productive exchange, but that's the only hint of that I saw all year.
Yeah, I agree, Skip. I just think the thing is that when you look at certain things, you expect it to be a certain way.
I agree.
You go to an upscale restaurant, Skip, you expect the maitre d' to meet you. How you doing, Mr. Bayless? How you doing, Miss Bayless? It is so glad to have you again.
Yep.
That's what you expect.
You do.
And when you don't get that, you're like, for what I'm paying for these prices, and this is all I get? Nah, I can't come back here. So with Cam, because Cam is so different than a Peyton Manning, so different than a Tom Brady, he's over here, but he ain't harming anybody. They make it seem like no, he's not. Why can't, the thing that I love about the NFL, and they're starting to get back to this, is that you can be an individual. I don't believe the NFL needs 1,700 Peyton Mannings, but they don't need 1,700 T.O.s or Ocho Cincos either.
Yeah.
There's enough space for everybody to show their individuality without being obviously Skip, obscene or grotesque or anything like that.
Sure.
But there's enough to show your personality because this is entertainment.
Okay.
And then some people, Skip, in entertainment business, some guys, all they do is comedy. Some guys, all they do is action. Some guys, all they do is serious. Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, you don't see Denzel doing comedy. I mean, I saw him in Devil in Blue Dress, and it was unbelievable. But for the most part, he's a serious actor.
He is. I agree.
That's his genre.
Okay, so it's not like Cam is the only black quarterback today. We just had back-to-back black MVP at quarterback. Yeah. And Deshaun is right there, and I can just keep going down the line. Kyler is
well, you see, Lamar gets a little criticism too, Skip, because
who's that?
Lamar Jackson.
Oh, Lamar.
Because he has a good time, Skip. He's not in the three-piece suit coming up there, and
I don't feel it. Maybe you do.
Skip, you have to understand, these guys are 22 years of age.
Yep.
They want to be the part. They're not. Maybe there'll be a time. You see how Patrick Mahomes is dressing like a 23, 24-year-old kid would dress.
He does. And remember, he's throwing left-handed passes and he's throwing no-look passes, and it's kind of against. We've never seen a quarterback do that, but I don't sense any racist backlash against him.
No.
Right?
No.
So in the end, I feel for Cam because it feels wrong what happened. He has to bear some of the responsibility because he didn't play great. He had that one flash in 2018, but in general, his last 4 years have been subpar. I mean,
with the exception of Peyton, nobody that's moved this big. Brady, obviously, Brady played well. But when you look at Drew, Skip, they did draft Phillip Rivers under Drew Brees' watch.
Yeah.
And then he ripped his shoulder out. And he got, and no, Miami wouldn't even pass him on a physical.
They would not.
And he went to New Orleans and got $60 million. Now, we know how that turned out for him. But Drew, at the time, hadn't accomplished a third of what Cam had. Cam was Rookie of the Year. Cam has been an MVP. Drew hadn't won none of that.
Yep.
Now, he's gone on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And so he's earned whatever they paid him.
Yep.
He's made up for it. But let's not pretend that all of a sudden, they just, I don't get it. But like I said, I think there's some, but that's not all that went into Cam getting this kind of a contract.
For his sake, I just hope he gets a real shot to be the quarterback of to fill the shoes once worn by Tom Brady.
Correct.
It's a huge career sort of remaking opportunity.
Right.
And then we'll see. Then you gotta live back up.
Yep.
No mercy.
Of a poll of anonymous sports agents done by The Athletic, 2 said that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' inability to get a long-term deal done has been the most surprising event this offseason. One agent went so far as to call it a, quote, big miss for Dallas. So, Shannon, do you agree?
Absolutely. I've been telling Skip this for the longest time. Skip, I think the thing is that there's bad blood because and everybody keeps saying, well, he's more in line with Wentz, he's more in line with Goff. But those two teams gave their guys security with 2 years still remaining on their deal. And the Cowboys did not do that for Dak Prescott. So the question becomes this, Skip. I believe, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later, he's going to play under the tag this year. I don't believe they get a deal done by the deadline, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 4 p.m. Eastern time.
It is.
I don't believe they get that deal done. So Dak plays well. I'm not saying he throws for 5,000 yards, but Dak plays well. You think he's going to come in and give him a discount next year? So guess where we are, Skip? We're at the exact same location where we are this year. And that's the problem. Dak says, you guys want me to give you a discount. You want everything. You want a discount. You want the number of years that you want. What do I get? I played this contract out. I had to navigate all these injuries. Where Goff and Wentz, they got security in the beginning. I did not. So now they've gotten security with 2 years left. Jerry, you made me play this thing out. Do you know anything could have happened? Let's just say I'm Alex Smith. Unforeseen. Now, Alex Smith has made a lot of money. He was the #1 overall pick. He got paid by San Francisco. He got paid by Kansas City.
Yep.
And he got paid again by Washington. But let's just say that wasn't the case. And the injury, and the hope, Lord, please don't let that happen to Dak. But I'm saying Dak is looking at it like, nah, I need long-term security.
Yep.
Oh, $31 million, that's a lot of money. It is for 1 year. But when you see all these quarterbacks getting 60, 70, 80, $90 million guaranteed, Skip, fully, he said, nah, Dak says, I can't do that. He says, I can't do you the same deal that Wentz and Goff got for the simple fact they had 2 years remaining. I have no years remaining. So you're going to have to pay a premium price on that in order for me to sign this contract. And so, Skip, it was a huge miss by the Cowboys. Jerry Jones, you can say what you want, huge miss or whatever. Jerry and Stephen Jones are not convinced Dak Prescott is their guy. Because if they were convinced, this deal would have been done.
I was with you until your last statement, and then you lost me. But back to Jenny's question. Big miss? Yeah, it's a huge miss. It's a horrendous miss. It's an excruciating miss for Cowboy fans. It should have been done a year ago, and it didn't get done. But here's the bottom line, and all that matters at this moment, it would be a much bigger miss to give Dak Prescott $42, $43 million a year right now. And you have to frame it with what Jerry has done here just recently with his Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones has a long-earned reputation for overpaying. He's the king of overpaying in the National Football League. He gets too close to players, although he's not that close to Dak.
Right.
But he gets too close, and he goes too far to make them happy and to take care, quote unquote, of those players. So we talked yesterday. We had the argument about most overpaid Cowboy right now. Well, you can debate it all day and all night because there are a bunch of them. but Zeke, you could argue, he was ranked by Pro Football Focus last year the 10th best running back, and he got the most money at that point any running back ever gotten. DeMarcus Lawrence has a horrendously overpaid contract right now. He was ranked among edge rushers last year 13th overall. 13th.
But he's making top 5 money.
He's number 3 on that list behind Khalil Mack and
Aaron Donald.
2 plus 2.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Amari Cooper is making $20 million a year. he's ranked the 10th best receiver. What?
So he making top 2 money.
Yeah.
And give you.
Okay. So now we come back to Dak Prescott. He was ranked by Pro Football Focus the 11th best quarterback last year. Before the year started, the entire NFL was asked to rank players in the top 100, to vote for your players who belong in the top 100.
Right.
He didn't make it.
Right.
Then he didn't make the Pro Bowl last year, and they went 8-8. And he missed so many key throws last year that he has not missed in his previous years. And he started out like gangbusters and tried to break the bank, and Jerry thought he had a deal going into game number 1 and told the reporters it is imminent. And they said imminent meaning what? Meaning days. Thought he'd get it done the first week of the regular season, just right after Zeke had gotten done at the end of camp. Didn't happen. He had 3 huge games against not very good teams, and here we went. Last 13 games, he was ranked 15th overall by Pro Football Focus. You gave him Fs 7 times, and you can make a case he deserved Fs in those games. At New Orleans, at Jets, Green Bay, Buffalo. These are hurt for me and bring
Green Bay and Buffalo was at home. There wasn't no at. They was there.
What I mean. And at Chicago, and then at New England.
Trubisky. We just talked about his Trubisky.
Yeah, at Stephon Gilmore. And then at Philly, Dak had a bum shoulder. He was banged up, didn't practice that week. But still, they couldn't even beat what was a below-average Philadelphia team. They were below average. So here we go into contract negotiation year, and they yanked the rug out from under Jerry, and bad blood started after 3 games. They said, Jerry, our price just went way up.
Yeah.
Because I think they had agreed somewhere in the ballpark $35, $36 million a year, which is he was going to be the top-paid football player, not just quarterback, at that moment. But we knew Mahomes was coming. We know Deshaun is coming. And Mahomes got around 45. We're going to talk about his contract. Some people thought it wasn't a very good contract for Patrick because it's just too long.
Yeah, but he gave up all his free agency.
He gave it up for 10 years. Well, Jerry's saying we need 5 years because that's their MO. They want longer contracts so they can prorate the bonus. And he's saying, no, I want 4 years. Okay, 4 versus 5. It's about the money. Show me the money.
Correct.
And it's 42, 43 versus 35, 36. And it's a huge leap in money for the quarterback. So Jerry looks at...
Because the guys you mentioned, Skip, you mentioned Zeke, you mentioned D-Law.
Yeah.
Dak is about to get what they got combined and what they got in signing bonus.
Thank you. He is. Because that's what that position dictates.
Yes.
That's what it's worth.
Yes.
If you're that good. Do even I, the biggest Dak defender supporter out there, do even I think he's Patrick Mahomes? I don't.
No.
So I can't make that case.
Right.
So if Jerry's drawn that line in the sand, I'm okay with it. Is there wiggle room? Is there 37, 38 wiggle room where tonight they could start talking and have that's how Jerry gets deals done. They had Mike McCarthy get done. They stayed up all night, beer and nachos until dawn.
Dak ain't having no sleepover.
No, he's not going to have a sleepover. Maybe his agent would stay up all night. He might. Maybe it'll be tonight.
Skip, you at the point now, you know what it's going to cost you. You're looking at $200 million. If you want 5 years, Skip, it's going to be $40 million a year. You're looking at $200 million.
And
that's what you are. Jerry
has to look at a cap next year that might fall and might even plummet, given whether this season's going to go or not go, right? So he has to factor that part in. And yet, do I think he believes in Dak? I do. Do I think he thinks he's Mahomes? He does not. So where's the...
Does he believe in Dak like he believed in Tony Romo?
He believed in Tony Romo as box office. He knew Tony would sell for the right and the wrong reasons. Dak is not box office. Dak's just a franchise leader. Yeah. That's what he is. Again, he's not fun to watch. He's not exciting. He's not Cam Newton. Cam is like must-see. Every time Cam's on, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm not sure what's coming, and yet there's no real entertainment value to Dak. He's just steady. I call him Brady-esque. He makes plays, and he used to make big plays at big moments, leg and arms. And now, last year, he did not have an overall what you'd call a Dak year. So it's harder to sell yourself off that. But you look at the big picture, long term, would I pay him? Yes. I'd go 37 or 38 million. Is there a way that, and remember, I keep bringing this up, and you say it's unfair, but he does play quarterback for America's team. He has, by last count, 12 national TV commercials. I don't know what that brings him in overall value, but he is, and we're going to talk about this topic later. Pro Football Focus says Dallas's 3 receivers, including my guy CeeDee Lamb, now ranked #1 in the league. You can debate that, but that's what he could come back to. That's why you could have some compromise, because you're saying, I can play behind that line with that running back and maybe the best receiving trio. And I'm talking about just wide receivers, not tight ends.
Yeah.
The 3 receivers, maybe the best in the league.
Right.
It's pretty appealing, man, where you give up a little bit. You give up the Mahomes money to get good Dak money and have a chance to go win Super Bowl.
Well, see, I think the thing is, Skip, when you look at it, and Dak is looking at it like this. The reason why you made Amari the second highest paid receiver is because he was totally free. He had no more years.
Totally free, and they feared he was going to the Redskins.
Right. So if you had extended Amari, when Amari got there, Skip, if they had, say, did this very same deal, I don't know if he would have got the kind of money that he got. But because he was free, because there was fear he could go somewhere else, they gave him top money.
They did.
Dak said, you had February, March, April, May, June, July, August.
Okay.
To get this deal done. Now the season starts. You let me throw for 400 yards, and now all of a sudden, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm liking what I'm seeing in myself.
Okay, I'm going to remind everybody. If he does play under this tag at $31.4 million, which is not chicken feed, and then next year it would be 38-ish million, those two combined would make him the highest paid player in pro football over the next 2 years, because Mahomes' deal is more back-loaded. His signing bonus was like $10 million. It was very low by his standards. So this would make him the highest paid player.
Yes.
Okay? So it's not all bad to say, let's just take a couple of tag years.
Well, Skip, why don't you go ahead and do that then? Why not give him a 4 or 5 year deal and says, okay, Dak, this is what the franchise tag is for this year. This is what it is for next year. We'll do that for the first couple of years and do something like that. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want to. Jared Goff got like $57 million for 2. No, Dak said, he got that and he extended it with 2 years left. You want me to give you a comparable deal with no years left?
Okay, but remember, who's the highest paid player in all of pro football over the last 5 previous years? It's Kirk Cousins. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Because he played the game, man. He beat the system. He went tag, 84 guaranteed million to go to Minnesota. So he may be thinking, okay, I'll go the Cousins route. Okay, what do I hate about tags? I think you share my feeling on this. It's just never any good.
Nope.
It says, I don't trust you, you don't trust me. So let's just go here. Let's just do it this way, right? And it usually is a one-way street out of town. That's what usually happens. So I hate it, and I'm hoping both sides find a little middle ground. And if it's going to be, Jerry always says, deadlines make deals. Well, tonight is the night.
Well, Skip, you do know Dak played last year a couple of games with that shoulder banged up.
He did.
When I'm playing for a car, Skip, I'm less likely knowing that what y'all done to me thus far.
That is
so
true.
You know what? Go on out there, Andy Dalton. Knock yourself out.
No mercy. Yesterday, the Washington organization officially announced they would be retiring Redskins as their team nickname as well as their logo. Carla Fredericks, the director of the American Indian Law Clinic, said, quote, anything that relates to Native American people or is evocative of Native American people has no place in professional sports. So, Shannon, is it time to remove all Native American nicknames and imagery from sports?
Yeah, I think so, Skip. I think where we are now, it's enough. Using people, Skip, they don't view it as a term of endearment or honoring them. They say, we don't want to be your mascots.
I mean, some do and a lot don't. But just for the record.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's like, no, let's just go. Let's just skip. And I understand there are times that it was never okay, but I think people tolerated it and they accepted it. So when they gave the Washington their name when they were in Boston, and they gave the Indians their name when they're, Skip, I get it. Back then, but this is now. And it's okay to evolve. It's okay to change your way of thinking and look at things through a different lens and say, you know what? Because if you were to do that right now, you think you can name a sports franchise? You think you can give them one of these names right currently? If you couldn't now, okay, go ahead and change it. Skip, people make it like, it's going to change something. The Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. The Cowboys, the Jets, weren't they the Titans? There are a lot of teams that have changed their name. The Buffalo Braves, all of a sudden they were the San Diego Clippers, and guess what, Skip? They're Los Angeles. So you can change names and still keep the organization intact. So this notion that, we're honoring and it's a term of endearment, Skip, and I don't think just because it's there, we should cling to it.
Yep.
There are parts of history we should be and willing to let go. And I think this is a part of our history that we should be willing to let go.
Yep.
I'm glad Washington's doing it. We know why they're doing it. It has nothing to do with doing the right thing.
Yep.
It is a money thing. So don't let Daniel Snyder. But I don't care, Skip. At this point in time, I don't care why you do something. Maybe you feel guilty. Maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to lose $1 billion over 10 years. The reasons why are unimportant. The fact of the matter is that it's getting done. It's changing. And I do, Skip, I agree. I believe that they should just do away with these names. They don't want to be your little mascots. They're not something to be joking around with. Let's just move on and come up with a different name.
So a woman named Carla Fredericks, the director of the American Indian Law Clinic, made some powerful statements yesterday. And she said, there's no other racial group in America that has endured what we've endured as Native Americans. Now, again, I've made this point before. I don't want to try to rank the suffering of African Americans, Native Americans, Jewish Americans. They're all tragedies, and they're all just like unthinkably awful what happened to those three groups of people. But let's just step back for 1 second, and I'll be the first to admit, maybe I'm not objective here because I grew up in what used to be called Indian Territory, now the state of Oklahoma. Red man is what that stands for. So I grew up around a lot of Native Americans, and I saw and I sensed just how downtrodden they were as a people, just how oppressed they were. So help me out here. I want our audience to step back for 1 second and think about this. So these people lived on this land long before we came. We brought you, unfortunately, in shackles, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, but white settlers came from Europe, became very powerful, had lots of soldiers with bigger guns, and finally just said, we want this land. From sea to shining sea.
Correct.
So let's fight for it. These white settlers and their white government declared war on the Native Americans. And seriously, I went back and, because I'm a student of this history, the Indian Wars, as they were called, they went on for 250 years. It took that long to rid, quote unquote, this country of the Native Americans who were simply fighting to preserve their homes, their homeland.
Thank you.
And it was bloodshed from sea to shining sea. Unlike, it was worse than the Civil War bloodshed. The white people massacred the Native Americans, and many times the Native Americans massacred the white wagon trains and settlements. And it was as ugly a period of time, sort of swept under the rug as we've had in the history of this country, what we did to those people. So we conquered them. The white people conquered them. And then we took 5 and we called them the civilized tribes. They were conquered. They lost wars, but they were called civilized. That's a euphemism. And they were made to march from those southeastern states, one that you grew up in, Georgia, Florida, some Alabama. They marched all the way to the state of Oklahoma, then called Indian Territory. It was called the Trail of Tears. 10,000 of them were lost to disease, malnutrition, the cold. And they were forced to stay on reservations. Under threat of military might. You know, they were kept prisoner on their reservation.
They were given land, and then as settlers came that way and wanted that land, they condensed even that land that they had been given.
See the Oklahoma land run, in which white settlers took a whole bunch more of the reservations. Okay, so then I think about all these nicknames, Cleveland Indians, even Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Braves. They came from this legacy of somehow people in power, white people in power, nicknaming these teams, had a certain respect for the Native Americans because they were strong adversaries. So let's call our teams them because they had real fighting spirit. They lost in the end, but they put up a great fight. Well, so how do you think the vanquished feel about that? Right?
Oh, so that's the way you honor me for what you do. You slaughtered thousands of my people.
You slaughtered my people. You massacred.
So you want to pay homage to me. It's like, you know what? We appreciate the fight that you gave, so we're going to name you this. We're going to name our team this.
We were afraid of your tomahawk, so let's do the tomahawk chop. We're going to tomahawk chop the opponent. What? And then this brings me back to where the tomahawk chop started at Florida State. And I don't want to make too much of this. I just asked the people at Florida State to think about this because they adopted in 1947 the nickname Seminoles because it was one of the founding tribes of the state of Florida. The Seminoles got crushed in a war, and it was led by Andrew Jackson. I mentioned this to you the other day. He became the president of the United States, but he was a general, an Indian fighter, and they crushed the Seminoles. And Florida State decided to nickname itself the Seminoles, and I looked at their website last night. The nickname was selected to honor the indomitable spirit of a few hundred unconquered Seminole men, women, and children who were left hiding in the swamps in South Florida. And that was true. About 100 of them fled into the Everglades. Have you ever driven through the Everglades? It's no place to go live. I can tell you that. It's a scary place.
Yeah, you got to hide. Well, I might get eaten by an alligator. That might happen. Or I might get bit by a snake or a moccasin.
Right. So 100 of them fled into the Everglades, and Andrew Jackson said, let them go. We won. We got their land.
Right.
Okay. So that's your nickname is based on the 100 people who fled into the Everglades. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. None of these, these symbols, this imagery, right? It doesn't work. It's not right. It's not. And this people, these Native Americans, they were voiceless, and they should now give a big thank you to Black Lives Matter because it has brought them into the forefront for the first time ever. Because you have such strong leadership in the wake of the murder of George Floyd that all of a sudden racism got attacked. We have a new racial sensitivity. I keep telling you, white minds, eyes, hearts maybe are open to, oh yeah, that happened. That's the black plight, right? And now all of a sudden, I think a lot of white people are saying, well, wait a second, if we're taking down racist sort of white versus black statues and symbols, what about the Native Americans? So it's sort of come along for the ride here in a great way.
Yeah, Skip, and the Black Lives Matter, although it says Black Lives Matter, but if you're a minority and you feel like you're underserved or you're underheard or you haven't been seen, ride the wave.
Ride the wave.
Because that's what this movement is about, Skip. We won't change. People won't change. I think there's a growing population of people say, you know what? I've been quiet long enough. What I see isn't right.
I agree.
I mean, I hear the little comments that, that's not right. I heard that. I know, I joke and I laughed right along, but that's not right. And people are like, you know what? For far too long, I've been silent. And the way things are, things can be better. Yeah, man, America has some great traits, great qualities.
Yeah.
But it could be better. Shouldn't it be a representative for all? People, the vast majority of people shouldn't feel this way. And so what we're seeing right now, I'm proud, I'm happy that where we're going. We got, like, as you said, Skip, it's some baby steps. But we've taken baby steps far too long.
You have.
We need to start taking bigger steps. We need to be adults about this and start walking.
Your favorite word is results.
Yes.
We need to see some economic results.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need to see change. We need to see the change in the system and the institutions. We got to see that.
Okay. So what I have long so respected about the black community in America, you have had strong vocal leadership. Dr. King, Malcolm X, we can go on and on. We can do the minister. We can do all the way up to Jesse and Al Sharpton. And we can just keep going. You've had powerful voices. The Native Americans, because they've been sort of splintered into so many tribes, they don't have those voices.
They don't.
So they have had to shrink into the shadows. And I'm happy for them. This is finally getting pulled out into the sunlight. And I think maybe white America will sit back and say, you know what? That's wrong, too.
Yeah, we did.
This was all wrong, but that is, too.
Yeah, we definitely could do more for them.
Yep.
And like you said, Skip, because it's been split, you got the Sioux, and you got the Seminole, and you got this one, and you got the Lumbee, and you got... It's almost like they're all one. They're still Native American. I mean, you know what I'm saying, Skip? And, yeah, they've definitely been treated unfairly. Definitely. No question about that.
With you.
Good points from you guys. Really, really interesting.
No mercy.
During the Athletics Anonymous survey of NFL offseason signings, 6 of the agents expressed some level of skepticism about Patrick Mahomes' historic deal. One agent called it horrendous for all players moving forward. They also said it was the, quote, worst deal done in the NFL in the last 20 years. Shannon, do they have a point?
No, I disagree, but I'm not surprised the agents say this, Skip. This is what you do. You salt up other agents so you can say, see, you see that deal he did? I would have got Patrick Mahomes $1 billion, and I'd have got him $400 million fully guaranteed. Skip, that's how it goes. It's just like college football. You know, Ohio State says things about Alabama and Michigan and all these other programs. So I'm not surprised that they said this. The question is, Skip, for me, is that when you look at this deal, now Patrick Mahomes says, I wanted some security, but also give the team flexibility. Because theoretically, the Kansas City did not have to do anything to 2022. He still had 2 years left, plus three franchise tags if need be. So, Skip, think about that. So they could have just waited this thing out. So he's under contract this year, next year, which will be 2022, and so 3 years after that. So they really didn't have to do anything to 2025. Then what? What can Patrick Mahomes do? Patrick Mahomes, he gave up his free agency. Patrick Mahomes was never going to see free agency. They was always going to have his rights until they deemed it was necessary to say, you know what, we can't. Skip, when you look at it, his 2023 salary becomes guaranteed in 2021. He has some things in there. He has $141 million in injury guarantees. Skip, look, Patrick Mahomes, if Patrick Mahomes was Dak Prescott and signed a deal like this, I would have been outraged too, Skip. But not with 2 years left on his deal. I think the deal is fine, and you shouldn't worry about how did it mess it up for anybody else, Skip? You the agent. So you said he did a bad deal. You the agent for somebody else. Get a better deal. Why you basing your deal on Patrick Mahomes? Skip, if I'm an attorney, I can't go, well, he got, no. You said this is what you could do. Don't worry about what Patrick Mahomes did. You see what everybody else tried to do, Skip? It's easy. Well, if everybody it's like the first rounder. Okay, Skip, normally you get 10%, especially the quarterback, you get 10% more than the previous year. So it's structured. Nah, that's not how it works in free agency. You go get your money. You said you could get this. If I'd have had it, okay, Deshaun Watson or whomever agents are making these, you're going to get an opportunity if you have a player. Go get the money. Don't worry about what Pat Mahomes got. Don't be talking about that man's money. If Patrick Mahomes is happy, guess who else happy? Me.
Okay, I hear everything you just said. You do love my homeboy, so you're probably going to defend this to a degree. You said you're fine with the deal.
Yeah.
I don't think you're great with the deal, but you're fine with it.
Right.
I must admit, my eyes got opened by these quotes. I got a little blinded by $500 million.
Right.
It could max out at $503,000. It's like, I can't even wrap my mind around all those zeros. Right. We've never heard anything about like this. And
$503 million.
No, I meant million.
Yeah.
So the point is, with all those zeros out there, it equals what they sold as the biggest contract in the history of, they said, North American sports.
Yeah.
Okay? So, wow, way to go. So our first reaction the first day was kaboom.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But the devil, as always, is in the details.
Right.
So it takes agents to deconstruct the contract and start to pick it apart. And I agree with you. They'll pick each other apart because that's what their livelihood is, picking each other apart. But this one quote, and again, these are anonymous, but I'm okay. I believe somebody thinks this. Some agent said it was a horrendous deal for all players moving forward. And I think you can appreciate that as an ex-player. It didn't do the rest of them much good because this agent goes on to say the kid essentially gave up free agency for his entire career. Maybe not total, but the bulk of his prime is going to be gone where you can't max out your money. And this agent goes on to say there are good but not star players who will make more over the first 3 years of their deals than Patrick effing Mahomes will make over the first 3 years of his deal. And then only 13% of this deal is guaranteed. What do you always throw back at me?
Yeah.
I want to know what the guarantees are.
Absolutely.
13%. I don't even know if that's accurate or not because I haven't read that, but that's what he says. 13% is guaranteed. Absolute joke, he says. Worst deal done in the NFL in the last 20 years.
Whew, Skip, truth be told, every deal done in the NFL is some bull jive. You know why? Because it's the only professional sport that salary isn't guaranteed. So why you bumping your gums?
Except for Kirk Cousins, got $84 million guaranteed.
If Kirk Cousins' agent's talking, I'm listening.
Okay.
Everybody else, unless you baseball, basketball, or hockey, what you talking about? Unless you first Cousins' agent, because he's the only one that says, you know what? Give me 3 years fully guaranteed. I don't care if the sun shines or it rains. He gonna get that money.
And I don't even like Kirk Cousins. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
But what everybody else talking about, Skip? They signing 6-year deal, 5-year deals. Is that money fully guaranteed? No. So otherwise, don't even talk.
Okay. Another agent adds, I think it's just hilarious that the Chiefs only had to pay $10 million in signing bonus to a guy who just signed a $500 million contract. Okay, so is it kind of backloaded? Yeah, you could say that. Okay, but one other agent did have the insight to step back and say, I look at this contract similar to what Tom Brady did for years in New England. Okay, I'm going to give you this one. If that was the goal of Patrick Mahomes, to say, you know what, this is enough money for me. It's enough for generations of my family.
Right.
I don't have to go for the throat here. I'll be taken care of, although it scares me a little bit about the guarantees because I'm going to knock on wood. I don't even like to bring it up. But if you do get hurt, then are you going to get enough of that for your take care of generations of your family? What do they call generational
wealth?
Okay. But he's basically saying enough is enough. I want to give my team the ability to support me.
If he takes all he's going to take, they're not re-signing Chris Jones, who's a top defensive tackle.
Okay. And weapons. He wants 10, 12 years worth of maximum weapons. Well, I can't blame him for that. Brady always took undervalue. Tim Duncan with the Spurs always took under market value. And in the end, he was taking like joke money just to make sure they had a full bench.
They can keep Tony Parker. They can keep Ginobili.
In the year they shot you guys right out of the gym, the Heat, in 2014.
With Patty Mills and
but the guys are coming off the bench. Boris Diaw's coming off the bench just raining threes because they all made pretty good money because the star of the team, or at least the leader of the team at that point, Tim Duncan, was making $5 million, which was an NBA minimum salary. Okay, so I'll give you that on Patrick Mahomes. But another agent said, would an agent do this deal just so for the next 10 to 12 years he didn't have to worry about getting terminated? Like he's going to get his...
He's going to get the money regardless,
Yeah, okay, all right. You did that. You're good, right?
Well, Skip, the way I look at it, if Pat Mahomes, all Pat Mahomes basically has to do is make it 2 years. If he can make it to 20... Because once at the league year 2021, his 2023 salary is guaranteed. He makes it 2022, his 2024...
Okay, so that's not a new deal. That has been done before. But I get you. But you still have to kind of earn your guarantee. You earn their mechanisms, trigger mechanisms where you make it through 2 years unscathed, knock on wood. Then boom, you're guaranteed for 2 more years. But you're not. This wasn't a 12-year guaranteed Kirk Cousins style contract.
They don't give those in the NFL.
Okay. Well, they could. I mean, there's no law against it, but they just don't.
Why? Because the players are not willing to forego checks. The MLB, Skip, they shut down the World Series. The NBA says, nah, we ain't doing a thing until we get what we want. But, Skip, because the players have gone so long without guaranteed money, they can't miss those checks. So this is why they signed the deal a year early. They have to sign. They wait. And boom, here we go. And then the first thing, and like I said, the next time I hear a guy talk about, well, this is slave and we shouldn't have this. Well, you had an opportunity.
You did. Bingo.
Look at you, Skip. Look at unions. Look at the police union. Look at that union. Look at MLB. Look at the NBA. Look at everybody except the NFLPA. And now the NFL, Skip, they'll release a statement and Michelle Roberts, Adam Silver, that says, okay, these are going to be our guidelines. Well, you got the NFL, they'll release their statement, and then a day or two later, here come the NFLPA releasing their statement. Ain't nobody lockstep and barrel. Because you know why? The NFL said, we know we can run over y'all, and y'all ain't going to do nothing about it.
That is true. Well, in the end, I promise you the Kansas City Chiefs management hierarchy owners.
Yes.
They're happy with
they're
this deal.
high-fiving.
They're really happy. They made a really good deal here.
But Skip, this is not going 2025. They're going to redo Pat.
Yeah.
They're going to redo.
I mean, they're not under any obligation
no,
to do that.
No.
Okay, if that'd be the right thing to do.
Right.
No mercy.
The Undefeated published a column called The Humbling of Cam Newton, and the column suggests that race played a huge role in Cam Newton signing for just over $1 million and hardly garnering any attention from other teams in the league. It continued saying, quote, "There's no explanation for such a small contract for a once transcendent talent other than a league of mostly white executives viewing Newton as not worth the headache, a reputation Newton has not earned." Fox Sports NFL analyst Michael Vick joining us now. Mike, good to have you. It has been way too long, and I want to start with you. How big of a role do you believe racism played in the lack of interest in Cam Newton?
I don't think race played a big role in this. I think this was more so about Cam and his ability to not be on the field the last 2 years. When I think about his transition, going through the injuries and trying to work through it, I think about my 2-year hiatus, going through that transition and trying to work through it. And when I came back, I didn't expect a lot. I knew I had to go out and earn everything that I wanted. I didn't expect a $10 million contract. I didn't expect a $30 million contract. I knew because I had to be evaluated in short order that was going to be the telltale sign of how, I was perceived and what team I would go to, what money I would get, and will I play as soon as I wanted to play. This is just a transition period for Cam, and I think it's going to help him more than it hurt him. Maturity-wise, a chance to step back, look at his career, 9 years with the Panthers. What can I do moving forward? He's in a great spot with the New England Patriots. If it all goes well, Cam could be the long-term answer in New England. So I don't think race played a part of it. I think it was more so about the injury and being skeptical of what he could do coming back. Is he going to be the same? Got to evaluate him. And that's just the long and short of it.
But here's the thing, though, Mike. You do realize that Peyton Manning missed 19 months, had neck fusion surgery. Many of the doctors, even the coach team doctor, flunked him on the physicals. A lot of doctors would not pass him. He got $58 million to sign. Drew Brees ripped his arm out the socket. The Miami Dolphins flunked him on the physical. He got 6 years, $60 million with $10 million signing bonus. You see what we're seeing here, Mike, and I'm not saying, and I told Skip, I don't believe race was the predominant or the overwhelming factor, but I believe there is, because when you look at it, how many times you ever think, do you think that these general managers and owners, they ask white quarterbacks, do you got a tattoo? You have any piercings? Good, keep it that way. Dez Bryant, how many white players you think have ever been asked in a meeting, is your mom a prostitute? You see, it's undeniable. It's the elephant in the room, Mike. We don't like to talk about it, but we got to have these uncomfortable conversations. I can assure you, there has not been a general manager or player personnel director has ever asked a white quarterback whether his mom was a prostitute. You see, the thing is, from the time the inception of football in 1919, with the Acme Packers, until 1968, there were no black quarterbacks. Marlon Briscoe with the Denver Broncos. You see, when they say act like a quarterback, what are they telling you to act like, Mike? Because that's the only thing. Huh?
Nah, that was pretty much, going back to the Marlon Briscoe days and the first black quarterbacks to ever enter the league. Oh, yeah, it was definitely a different standard that we had to live up to, and, the way we had to be, the way we had to walk and be perceived, in terms of us getting that shot on the field. We had to be squeaky clean. We had to be perfect. That it wasn't the norm. It wasn't ideal. I had a high school coach tell me that, this world was very political. If you're going to play the quarterback position, then, you have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. Part of the reason I made the comments when, I was ignorant to the fact of what was going on with Kaepernick and, in terms of him kneeling, I didn't understand he was doing it for a certain cause. I was looking at it, the fact that he had an afro, and from what I've been told and taught, this is the way you have to look, similar to, walking in the courtroom. You want to be at your best, appearance-wise, in order to make the judge, try to give you a lighter sentence. It's something that we was just told or taught. And, like I said, I don't feel like, that played a part, because when I think about Cam, I think about production. I think about, the injuries. I think about him having to come from that. But, it just didn't resonate with me that race played a part in this. And, I don't know what goes on in, the general managers, rooms when they're talking or when they're discussing players. I haven't had to witness that or be a part of that. I know some guys have. It's very unfortunate, but that's what we're trying to transition from, as a country right now. We are work in progress, and I won't sit and speak on that because I think things are different from Cam in this situation currently.
So, Michael, go one cut deeper with us here, because this Undefeated article we're discussing had a line in it that says, Michael Vick rubbed white America the wrong way long before Bad News Kennels.
Absolutely, I read that.
Okay, so help us out. Early in your Atlanta experience, did you feel sort of racial backlash? And again, you weren't nearly as sort of demonstrative as Cam is. Flamboyant. You didn't celebrate the way Cam does. Maybe you didn't exactly dress and look the part of the upstanding white quarterback, but did you feel any backlash in those early years in Atlanta?
Well, I felt a lot of backlash just from my play. When I think about those times, I think about the games that we lost, and then I was the one getting blamed for losing those games. I was more upset about that, whether it came from a black person or white person, than anything. My play meant everything to me. Everything outside of that, I didn't see. Whether I was stereotyped because my pants was baggy or my shirt was
the Fat Farm and FUBU, Mike. I remember.
The Fat Farm, FUBU, the RP55, all that shit. I could care less. I could care less about that. It didn't bother me. And maybe it was because of the conversations that stemmed from, the conversations I had with my coaches when I was young. And, I just put football before anything outside of that. I wasn't worried about my parents or what people thought about me. I could only be me. And when I read that article, I was very disturbed because I was like, I hadn't done anything up until what happened with Bad News Kennels to make people look at me a different way. I was the face of the franchise. Mm-hmm. I was the face of the National Football League, and I was very young and immature at the time, but I embraced that. That meant something to me. So I tried to walk that fine line because I was always trying to set examples for the next generation to come after me. That's all.
So the criticism you didn't like was about the way you were playing football, and go be more specific about bolting the pocket too quick to make a big run, or what?
Yeah, I mean, Skip, it was a lot of downs that I wish I could have had back, a lot of pass attempts that I wish would have been a different outcome, a lot of plays that was called that I wish would have been different. And you can point the finger, you can blame a lot of people. At the end of the day, I always blame myself. And, I was a very tough critic on myself, but when it came to the public, sometimes they didn't know what they was talking about. When it came to media sources and certain people who probably just had a personal vendetta against me, I felt like they were very inaccurate. So I took it upon myself to defend myself at times, and maybe I didn't say the right things, or it made me go into a shell and not want to deal with these people. So now you start to look like, you just don't care, and then you start getting tagged and labeled and scrutinized even more, and it just gets out of control. And once it gets to a point where you have no control over it, you got to let go and just do your job, man. And that's all I ever tried to do. But it was very disturbing at times, and it was very heartbreaking. But I understood at the quarterback position, this is what you have to deal with. So you got to man up and deal with it.
Mike, do you look back and say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have come, because you had the cornrows, you had the do-rag, you had the oversized T-shirt, you had the big chains hanging out. Do you look back and say, you know what? That might have caused people to look at me a certain way and judge me a certain way. That's like, this is not very CEO-like. This is not very quarterbackage because you was really the first guy. What you did to the NFL is what Allen Iverson did to the NBA. Allen Iverson was showing up with oversized T-shirt, big jeans, do-rags, and cornrows, and people and they changed the rules. They changed the rules in the NBA. They didn't do that for the NFL, but do you think that, looking back at it, maybe I should have done some things differently?
Absolutely, Shannon. Let me tell you this. I grew up 4 blocks away from Allen Iverson. He was 4 years older than me. He went to the NBA, and we looked at that as something that was so monumental. My dreams of following his footsteps started when I went to Virginia Tech. And everything that guy did, everything he did, I marveled. Everything he did, I wanted to patent. And I wanted to duplicate. And, I could care less about who thought or what people thought or what people were thinking. And when I got to Atlanta and I started to, dress a certain way and I started to just be myself, I wanted to be like Allen. And, I didn't understand at the time that it looked different. It wasn't the ideal way to dress. And, now that I look back on it, it disturbs me, but I'm appreciative of the fact that I did it my way, and I did it in a way where, I think a lot of kids can learn from it. And I don't think it's really a big deal anymore. I think fashion is something that people pay attention to and is very trendy. And I will say this, Arthur Blank came to me when I was growing my braids out, and he told me he thought it looked good. He thought it was a cool look. He didn't care. But that was my guy. That was my man. It didn't come from, outside sources. He gave me the blessing. And not saying he said he thought it was, the right thing to do, or he cared nothing about me growing my hair. It was about my play on the field, and I respected that more than anything.
So, Michael, I told my man across the table, Shannon, earlier in the show, it's not like Cam Newton is the first black quarterback. Obviously, we brought up Marlon Briscoe, Denver, 1969, first to start a game in the modern era. We can go all the way back to Fritz Pollard, 1923, was a black quarterback. And I counted last night, 98 black quarterbacks have started games in the National Football League in the modern era. It's not maybe great, but it's not bad. I don't think black quarterbacks have been routinely discriminated against in the draft because there have been 23 black quarterbacks taken in the first round. 5 went first overall, including obviously you. So we come back to Cam. What's different about Cam? Well, he shattered a new mold. Nobody, black or white, has celebrated as a quarterback quite like Cam has. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah,
I think
at
it
the
is.
quarterback position.
Yeah, right. With the Superman, with the dab. And again, in 2015, America loved it because they were 15-1 on the way to the Super Bowl. But I told Shannon, in the end, it has been a little shocking to me that Cam didn't get a job with the Chargers, who I thought just desperately needed him to sell tickets to their brand new billion-dollar stadium, or to Jacksonville, or to Chicago. We could go on and on. And if there is anything subliminally operating still in this league, there are a lot of older white men making the decisions. And maybe it's not a flat-out racist mindset that they have, but it's what I call an old-fashioned white mindset, that at that position, the most sacred position in pro football, you have to act a certain way. And Cam does not.
No.
So as long as he was going 15-1, okay, we're okay with that. But he's, over the last 4 years, 23-23 as a starter. Well, now you haven't bought any insurance with those older white, old-fashioned decision makers who probably were raised racist by their parents, and maybe they're not racist now, but they have a white mindset of that's how that position is supposed to be played. And that's how you're supposed to act at that position. And when he does not, when he posts his Instagram posts, it can be a little out there sometimes, I think the white decision makers say, well, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to go there with Cam just yet.
It's only 32 teams in the National Football League. And it's only 32 quarterbacks that can represent their team on Sundays. And I think for the most part, where it all starts is your production. This league is a what have you done for me lately league, and that's never going to change. in terms of attitudes and in terms of maturity level, that'll always be scrutinized. White, black, or indifferent, you'll always be, judged based on how, you treat the guys around you. If you're a leader within the locker room, if you're a leader on the field, how you treat, the guys in the upper management, how you treat the scouts, how you treat the ball boys, how you treat people when you're out in the community, how you, carry yourself, 24 hours out the day. That's what it's going to come down to. Black, white, and indifferent at the quarterback position. And look, that's just how I carried it. That's how I made my mark in the National Football League. Look, you respect me, I respect you. You respect my boundaries, I respect yours. And we don't have to take it anywhere no further than that. Leave it right there. And that's why I stood. Look, regardless of my color, I never cared. Treat me fair, I treat you fair.
Well, Nathan Peterman and Chase Daniels must be treating everybody really, really well because they couldn't play dead in a horror movie, and they got making more money than Cam Newton. That's all I'm gonna say about that, Vic.
Cam's gonna get his money, man. I didn't expect Cam to make a lot of money. I mean, Shannon, be honest. Did you expect Cam to get a 10-year contract?
No.
10-year deal?
I expected him to get like $8-9 million. I ain't expecting him to get $500,000.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You got to go work for it. Let me tell you, my first contract was only $1 million and had an option for $5 million. You know what I did, Shannon? I went and got that $5 million. And after that, I went and got some more.
Mike, think about how long ago that's been. That's been 12, 13 years. And you got making $450,000 more in guaranteed money than what Cam got.
And Shannon, that's why I was saying, coming off that injury, he got to show that he can still whip it. He got to show that he can still run it. He got to show that he can still. And look, I would tell Cam the same thing if I talked to him today. Cam, you have to go show and prove. Sky's the limit for you. It's right there in front of you. And he got to be excited about that. He got to be hungry. And according to his videos and what he done posted and what he's been showing, let's sit back and watch what happened.
Yeah, according to those videos, you're right, Michael. He looks ready. He's saying it's about respect, not about the money. And we're going to be watching to see how it all plays out for him.
No mercy.
Of a poll of anonymous sports agents done by The Athletic, 2 said that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys' inability to get a long-term deal done has been the most surprising event this offseason. One agent went so far as to call it a, quote, big miss for Dallas. Michael Vick is still with us. Michael, do you agree here?
I agree. I agree that it's a big miss if they can't get this guy signed to a long-term contract. Dak has did everything that he's supposed to do. And it seemed like we've been talking about this for the last 2 years consistently, and I'm getting tired of it. They go out and bring in Andy Dalton, and we question, what that move was about. I know it's important to have good quarterbacks on the roster. I've been a part of that. I learned from Andy Reid the best. He always wanted to have quarterbacks who could step in if a guy can't get the job done. But it's hard to find good quarterback play. And if there's a motive behind it, not being able to get Dak signed, I think it needs to be said. Dak needs to know. He probably does at this point. And, like I said, to find a right quarterback in this league, a guy who can play, 16 games, and through the postseason, when you find the guys who can do that, you got to hold on to those guys. And, even though all these deals now are really just 2 to 3 year deals because they're getting paid all the money, up front, just ride that out. You got to give it a 3-year trial run. And now that he's with Mike McCarthy, this is more reason for them to get the deal done and move on. So people don't have to worry about this no more. Dak don't have to worry about it. He'll be comfortable and he'll probably go out and play a lot better if this happens.
I agree. And then Skip and I have gone back and forth about this. And Skip has told me since we started this show coming up on our 4-year anniversary, September 6th, Skip Bayless, Skip told me that the quarterback position is the most valuable, the most important position in all of pro sports.
Like times 100.
Regardless, more important than the point guard, the center, the pitcher, the quarterback is where it's at. And teams, more times than not, they blow it trying to find that guy. The Cowboys stumble upon the guy. They walking down the road, they kicking cans all of a sudden. They look over there, and there's a big old bag of money. And they go in and they open up the bag. It's like, ain't no dye, Ain't nobody claiming the serial numbers are non-consecutive. Oh, all right, I'm not supposed to say that. But anyway, they got a nice big old bag of money, Mike. And that's what they got with Dak. Now, all of a sudden, they look at every reason why, well, you know he didn't make the playoffs last year. Well, you know he didn't make the Pro Bowl last year. And when the players selected at top 100, he wasn't the top 100. But there was none of that when he was winning Rookie of the Year. There was none of that when he was taking the team to the playoff. Now, all of a sudden, they find every reason in the book why not to give Dak that money. Now, they say, well, he's more comparable to Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. But what they won't tell you is that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz had 2 years left on those deals when they got the long-term security. Dak Prescott got no long-term, got no deal, got no years left on his contract, and those other guys got $28 and $26 million guaranteed at the time of them signing their first contract. Poor little Dak made like $2 million his whole contract. And now they want him to give them the discount that Goff and Wentz gave their team. Dak says, I wish I might. Pay me. 4 years, 5 years, $200 million.
Break the bank.
Oh, and an extra $15 million because you haven't said Black Lives Matter yet. So, Jerry, I'm charging you for that.
You could be right. That's a touche. You got me on that one. Okay, Mr. Vick and Mr. Sharpe. Nobody in the known world has defended and supported Dak Prescott more than I have. You are right, Mr. Sharpe. He fell out of heaven into our laps out of the 4th round. He was clearly immediately better than Tony Romo ever thought about being. He is a solid citizen, face of the franchise. He's what you bank on going forward. But in the end, bottom line, is he Patrick Mahomes? Even I can't go there. I can't. I'm sorry. And we don't know this for a fact, but I have been told that Dak and his relatively new agent, CAA, Todd France, have been asking for Mahomes-esque money. It's $42-43 million a year. Patrick got $45 million a year, obviously for 12 years. But that's the echelon they want to be paid in. And I can't support or defend that much. And Jerry Jones is notorious for overpaying his stars. He slightly overpaid Zeke, at least for the bang for his buck he got last year, which was not enough. He way overpaid for DeMarcus Lawrence. Coming off the edge, he didn't get that edge rusher that he had the previous year before he got his, what's he make, $21 million a year? $21 million a year? Amari Cooper just got $100 million more, $20 million a year, because he was free. And the Washington Redskins wanted him. And the Dallas Cowboys said, no, we'll pay you whatever it takes to keep you.
Yep.
So here we go with Dak Prescott. Now we're talking about quarterback money, and it's the kind of money that if you overinvest, you will be strapped with, you will be handicapped by for the next 5 years. And it's a big risk. It's a big plunge for a plunger out of the oil fields named Gerald Wayne Jones Jr. And he's saying, even that's too rich for my blood. So he's saying, I can't go there, but there's got to be a middle ground, because he offered him 35 or 36 million. At the time, it would have made him the highest paid player in pro football. Dak wants up in the 40s. I don't condemn him for this. I just can't say, yeah, you're worth that much. You haven't shown me that much. He's 1 and 2 in the playoffs. It's not bad. It's not great. So in the end, all I know is the Hall of Famer across from me last year, after Dak sort of pulled the rug out from under Jerry after the first 3 games and said, no, we up our price. We want 40-some million. And Jerry got angry about it. And then over the next 13 games, to your point, Michael Vick, he didn't play as well. I think he pressed. And my partner across the table gave him Fs, as in fail, 7 times out of the last 13 games. That's more than half those games. Big F, fail. And maybe he was right about that. And Jerry Jones was listening to Shannon Sharpe, because he said, no, Dak, I can't go there. Stay here with me. 36, 37, maybe could we stay right there? Is there some compromise? My team is right there. It's really good. It's loaded with weapons and star power, and the defense is much better than it was last year. Here we go. But the quarterback needs to get on board with just a little bit of compromise, and it doesn't feel like we're going to get there?
40 mil.
Ugh.
I say 35 to 37 was perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought that would have been the match made in heaven. And it was enough to make the train go. And, you know, you got to think about the free agents that you want to bring in and year out. You got to sign other guys. You got to make sure that the roster is stacked in order to compete. One man getting all the money, you know, it kills the whole show. So
it does.
It should have been a happy medium. And with Patrick Mahomes' contract, it didn't do any justice to any of the quarterbacks who will be signing in the next couple years, because you know the contract is very different and Patrick is Patrick. So,
but here's the thing.
It all remains to be seen.
Skip keep talking about they snatched the rug out from under. You know, it's funny. You know, I go to the store occasionally. I do a little shopping on my own. Most of the time, I send somebody to go get it for me. But it just so happens I was at the store, and this was like right pre-COVID, and I was looking at the price of eggs. I was like, oh man, let me get some eggs right quick. And then I go back a week later when COVID hit, and egg prices are going up. So that's what Dak did. Dak said, hold on, Jerry, I just threw for 400, 3 touchdowns, threw for 3 touchdowns, 300. The price went up.
Well, timeout. It was against New York and Washington and Miami.
Hold on, Mike, are those NFL teams? That's what he told me. That's what he told me.
Barely.
Oh, Shannon, do the Giants play in the NFL? Yeah, I said, yes, Skip, they play in the NFL. Okay, so that's what he did.
They are considered professionals.
Yeah,
they are considered professionals.
But here's the problem that they have, Mike. If you look at all these guys, Jared Goff had 2 years left. Wentz had 2 years left. Russell Wilson had a year left. Aaron Rodgers had 2 years left. Patrick Mahomes has 2 years left, and they could have franchised him. The same thing with Goff. So Dak says, hold on, wait a minute. You didn't give me long-term security. Remember, you sent me, you fed me to the wolves. You sent me out to the wolves. I just happened to come back leading the pack. Now, I want my money for making it back. 40 million. I'm going to split the difference. Russell got 35. Mahomes got 45. 40 million. For 5 years, 200 million with 100 million guaranteed. Fully.
Hey, this is the reason I say Dak should have been paid by now. Because of his rookie campaign, it's hard for a rookie quarterback to go and play 16 games and be productive doing it. And then he come back the second year and it wasn't as good. And then the third year, I mean, he's done more than enough. And then the Andy Dalton move, I mean,
and Skip said Dak Prescott's rookie season was the greatest rookie season for a quarterback in NFL history.
It was.
So Mike Vick said, and Skip Bayless said he should be paid on that alone.
I mean, I agree. I don't know if it's the greatest rookie campaign. I know Matt Ryan had a great rookie campaign.
Well, I've been going about what Skip said. I don't know that much about it. I only been watching football like 6 months.
I'm not in the hole. So, Michael Vick, bottom line, just your best guess. Do they compromise and make a deal in the next 24 hours?
No.
No.
No. I don't think it's enough time. I don't think it's enough time to get a deal done. No.
Mike, that is not what Skip wanted to hear. Seriously, 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. That is the deadline. At this point, we'll see. Michael, so good to see your face and hear from you. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good one, Mike.
No mercy. During the Athletics anonymous agent survey on NFL offseason signings, one agent said all of a sudden the Buccaneers are good and the Patriots are bad, mostly because of Tom Brady leaving for Tampa. The agent said, quote, I don't know that any single player ever had that dramatic of an impact in free agency. Shannon, I'm very intrigued. What do you think about this? Do you agree?
Skip, I agree because we saw Brady leave the Patriots, and I'm not sure they had a succession plan. Now, Coach Belichick might think they do. He might think Jared Stead is the guy that he wants to replace Brady. Skip, and then look, I think what's spoiled is that when you see San Francisco, they go from Montana to Steve Young. But Steve Young was the MVP even before Montana walked out the door. And we see the plan that Green Bay had in place. They drafted Aaron Rodgers. They set him for 3 years. Favre goes out the door. Rodgers steps in. They don't miss a beat. But it's rarely that happens, Skip. You look at teams, and you look at the Marinos, and you look at the Elways, and these great quarterbacks, when they leave, yeah, you struggle. You take it on the chin. You look at the Steelers. They struggled until they basically got Big Ben. Yeah, they had a few years, they had some success, but when you lose a quarterback that's been entrenched for basically 20 years and you don't have a follow-up plan, now we don't know what Stead's going to be, But Cam is like, why y'all talking? That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, you just said that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Skip, for me, it is. Because we don't normally see this. We don't normally see a quarterback play this long, Skip. He normally say, you know what, I'm done. Boom. So not because we did see this with Peyton, even though they got luck, it took them going 2-14 the season that Peyton didn't play in order to get luck. And it lets them know that, man, if you don't really have a backup, it cost Bill Polian his job. Because it's like, you should have prepared for this. Well, here's a guy that's never missed a game. Skip, how do you prepare for a guy that comes to work every single day, every single year? How do you prepare for his absence? You can't. Just like Tom Brady. Tom Brady showed up to work with the exception of 2007, the 15 games, every single day, every single game. He was there. So how do you prepare for that? So for me, Skip, yeah, it's going to have a ripple effect. Because, yes, he makes Tampa better, but in the same breath, he took so much steam out of the room in New England.
So, timeout. Did I just hear what I think I just heard?
What?
I heard Shannon Sharpe co-sign and say that he agrees with something that was said very positively about Tom Brady. This is a first on Undisputed.
No, it's not.
I thought you would just shred this. I thought you would laugh at it. No?
Nah. I mean,
Maybe you're seeing the light now.
There ain't no light, Skip. Yeah. But I mean, look, would I feel better if the guy had a little bit more pedigree? He had played like 3-4 years in college, and I had a big, like you say, sample size to see what he's done. Even if he's done something in the NFL.
You're talking about Stid.
It's Stid.
Yeah,
because, Skip, we had saw Steve Young play. He's had played playoff games for the 49ers. So we know, and he'd won the MVP. So there was no question. Now, would he ever be Joe Montana? No, he didn't need to be. But he was a damn good quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know what we get with, and then you're replacing that.
Okay, so the agent is saying, I don't know that any single player ever had the dramatic impact in free agency that Tom Brady just had. Right. Ever. Well, as I recall, I guess we could check the tape. I believe I told you that the first day it happened. This is unprecedented. Right. Everything seems unprecedented right now, but this is unprecedented.
Yeah. Right.
Because he left a roster that is now being judged, ranked as middle of the pack.
Right.
For a team known as the Succaneers, who had the worst winning percent, still have the worst winning percentage in all of sports history. The Succaneers, who went 7-9 last year and missed the playoffs. Right. And all of a sudden, people are talking about Tampa Bay, as in Tampa Bay, as at least a Super Bowl contender.
Definitely playoff contender.
Maybe a long shot Super Bowl contender, but they have the 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Not bad to come from 7-9.
Right.
Well, this guy's 43 years of age. So that's historical impact.
Correct.
And again, I have no idea what Belichick is thinking. I would give you and the bet that we have about who's going to have the better record between New England and Tampa a lot better shot if Cam Newton is the starting quarterback on day one. You know, then you got a shot.
Right.
Because we're going to talk about this in a few minutes. He is going to play angry if he gets that shot. But I don't know what Belichick's thinking. Does he want a Cam package of plays? Does he want to use Cam as the stand-in? I have no idea.
Right.
He seems to have a soft spot for Stid.
Right.
He seems to have a plan that, I found my new Brady this time in the 4th round. I got my new diamond in the rough.
Right.
Jared Stidham from also Auburn University.
Right. Well, we thought he had a soft spot for Brady because even though when Drew Bledsoe got healthy, he wouldn't give Drew Bledsoe that job back, even though Drew was campaigning for it behind the scenes.
Yep.
And Coach Belichick's like, nah, I'm going with him. So we thought he had a soft spot for Brady. And maybe it was soft at the beginning, but somehow maybe he turned into the Grinch and it hardened.
Maybe.
Because for whatever reason, and I think, Skip, when you go back to free agency started, if I'm not mistaken, in 93, Skip, when you look at it, we've never seen a quarterback leave like this. Not just walk out the door. I mean, you normally try to get some, unless he's injured. Now, we saw Drew Bledsoe walk out the door, but he was injured. Peyton Manning walked out the door, he was injured. Tom Brady, from all we have no indication that he was injured in any shape, form, or fashion.
Maybe a little banged up.
Right. But wear and tear for being about to be 43. So we've never seen a quarterback just walk out the door.
Nope.
And you got no compensation for it. Even the Packers traded Favre.
They did.
So normally that's what we see. So I'll agree, Skip, is that because him going to Tampa, and it gave Tampa a real hope. They're talking playoffs. The fans are actually talking playoffs. You hear the players.
Well, I think they're talking more than playoffs.
But consider they're going to start with that. Consider they hadn't been in the playoffs in such a long time.
No.
Let's say, before we catch a marlin, can we catch a bass first? Can we catch something small? Something that we know we can get to the shore.
Yep.
But, yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree, Skip. It was a seismic shift because he weakened one and strengthened another.
Okay. In the end, we're going to see on the field. If Brady has declined the way you think he's declined, maybe he can't live up to the weapons around him.
Right.
If Jared Stidham is a product of the genius of Bill Belichick, if suddenly he starts game one and starts to light it up the way Brady once did, then advantage Belichick, right?
Well, Coach Belichick going to get huge credit. They mess around and win the division without Tom Brady.
Yeah. Especially if they did it with Jared Stidham.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam is Cam.
Right.
And he was just 5 years ago the MVP of the league. So
Right.
Belichick wouldn't get as much credit for Cam Newton.
No mercy.
Pro Football Focus ranked every NFL team's group of wide receivers, and Skip's Cowboys took the top spot thanks to the addition of CeeDee Lamb in the draft to go alongside Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. The Bucs were second and Falcons third, but it was all the way down at 6 where you found Patrick Mahomes' group of receivers. So, Shannon, how much do you disagree here?
I disagree with it. You know I disagree with it. And you disagree with it. Now
I do not.
Hold on. You keep telling me Amari Cooper, he quit. You told me he quit against the Jets. He quit against the Eagles. He quit against the New England. And now this.
Is it my turn?
No, it's not your turn. I know. Skip, there's no way they should be number one. And they're basing this on what? What they believe CeeDee Lamb might do? Every receiver, he's going to light it up. But every receiver doesn't light it up. Until he does it, then I'll believe it. I keep telling you, Skip, that's how I operate. God says, trust me, I'll show you. I'm man, I'm not God. Show me, I'll trust you. See, that's what I do. You got to show me before I trust you. So I don't trust it just yet. No, I'm taking what I know. I'm taking proven commodities. I'm taking KC. Hardman, Watkins, Reek, give me them. I'm going to also take the Saints. Mike Thomas. You want Mike Thomas or you want Amari? Thank you. You want Emmanuel Sanders or you want Gallup? Because I know Emmanuel Sanders is a 2-time Pro Bowl player who's played big in the Super Bowl, who's played big in the playoffs. I'm taking him over Gallup. So, no, I don't agree with this ranking. You should be, first of all, you should be really upset. Jerry Jones should be really upset with himself because guess what? With these rankings, okay, supposedly he got a top receiving core. He's got a top 5 offensive line. He got a top 10 defensive lineman. He got a top 10 wide receiver. He got a top 5 running back. And what he got to show for it? Nothing.
Okay, I will buy that. But we do have this to show. We got the best receivers in pro football, according to the source, Pro Football Focus. At least I agree with them
Well, they
today.
need to do some more focusing because they're out of focus with this one.
They're out of focus. Way back in September, you happened, just as an aside, to say, and of course we all know Jerry Jeudy is the best receiver in college football.
Yep.
And I interrupted you. We were going to break.
Yep.
And I pushed the break back a little bit because I could not let you get away with that. I said, no, he's not. CeeDee Lamb is the best receiver in college football. What? CeeDee Lamb? You hadn't focused on him just yet. And then he kept catching balls, as we saw the year before. Jenny was there many times to watch him catch another one and break another tackle and another tackle. He dominated the Texas Longhorns. He dominated D1 college football last year, in which he led with 21.4 yards per reception. That's extraordinary. Half of that, a little more than half of that, came after catch. What did I keep telling you? CeeDee is no lamb after catch. He is a lion after catch. I told you, and then little did I know, thank you, speaking of God, thank you, God, he fell into our laps at 17th overall, and everybody said, what? Dallas got CeeDee Lamb? And all of a sudden, Dak's MVP odds went through the roof. It's all because of this kid who's going to play like a man. I believe in him. I'm putting extraordinary pressure on him because I believe immediately he will challenge Amari as the number one. Michael Gallup was emerging as one of the best intermediate and deep threats last year in pro football. So if all of a sudden, what if Amari wakes up about game 3 or 4 and says, well, I think I'm a third option here. I'll take Amari as the third option.
Hold on, you paying a third option $20 million?
Yeah, okay, but we kept him away from our arch rival, so that's the cost of doing business. And all of a sudden, if CeeDee Lamb is what I think he's going to be, here we go. Because he will lift the other two. Maybe he will inspire Amari. You know, Amari's one of those kids who has extraordinary ability.
Yes.
He's not a kid anymore. He's a young man. But he needs to have his button pushed. And right now, when he just feels like I'm the number one and Michael Gallup is sort of emerging, but he thinks he's still the guy. Yeah. Wait until he walks into this locker room with this guy.
Man, I can't try to be pushing I'm paying you $20 million. I can't be pushing no buttons.
Well, he'll get his button pushed by this guy. So all of a sudden, they're putting this all on CeeDee Lamb. I feel validated. I feel vindicated. I feel like here we go.
Well, Skip, all I know is the past 2 years, he was not the best receiver in football. Jerry Jeudy won the Blitnikoff Award, and then I think the Jefferson kid or one of the other kids from LSU won it last year.
Yep.
Was Jeudy playing in college football then?
No.
I mean, he played, and think about it, he played with Heisman Trophy guys.
Jeudy was playing on a track team at Alabama. They had 2 go in the first round this time, and 1 went before Jerry Jeudy went. Ruggs went before Jeudy. Fastest guy in the draft.
Your guy was playing with 2 guys that went first pick in the draft, and the other guy went in the second round, was the first or second pick in the second round.
Last year, he was by himself.
Oh, he was by himself.
It was basically, it was him or bust.
Your guy finished second in the Heisman.
Yeah,
what about...
because of him. Doesn't that 88 looks good on him? Woo!
First of all...
He will live up.
I don't know. Y'all keep on selling Sammy Watkins short and Mecole Hardman. Skip, we got a track team out. They got a track team out there.
Pro Football Focus says that Sammy Watkins has turned into mediocre, and Mecole Hardman has not yet emerged as what he might be.
So what has CeeDee Lamb emerged? Where does he emerge from?
I already told you. I'm betting it all on him. I just pushed. I'm all in. I put it all right here.
Did you see Sammy Watkins?
I'm going eye test college football. Here we go.
Have you seen Sammy Watkins in the playoff? Did you see what he did? Mm-hmm. So you know what he's capable of, right?
His productivity has dropped the last couple of years. Even you would agree with that.
Yeah, well, look, he can't stay healthy.
If we throw in Travis Kelce, it's all...
No. We're
just doing wideouts, okay?
But we got Reek.
Okay, you got Reek, and he makes DBs reek. You know, they do.
Yeah.
They reek after they try to chase him. I give you that. As just on pure explosiveness, Dallas doesn't have that. Dallas just has 3. And Pro Football Focus points out they were just 11 yards shy last year of having the number 1 3 in production with Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went to the Texans.
Right.
Well, watch what happens. CeeDee's going to line up in the slot a lot, and they won't be able to deal with it.
I mean, Skip, you make it seem like Randall Cobb had like 50 yards. Randall Cobb had only 100. Yeah.
Great. This guy's better.
Okay,
CeeDee Lamb or Randall Cobb? I think I'll take CeeDee.
I'm going to take Tex Cobb.
Yep, here we go.
Shannon, Skip and I have been trying to help you with the CeeDee Lamb stuff.
You wouldn't listen.
You realize that, you know, we're not going to let you join the bandwagon late once he starts producing.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay, we'll see about that. We'll see.
No mercy.
In a roundtable discussion on YouTube, Cam Newton admitted that replacing Tom Brady in New England is the, quote, elephant in the room. Cam still seems confident, saying the Pats offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, can now call plays he was never able to call with Brady. So, Shannon, do you like what Cam said here?
Well, you got to have confidence. You're replacing a guy, Skip, that went to 9 Super Bowls and won 6, and he's on the short list. He's first or second, however you want to dice it up, as the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. So there's a lot of confidence that you have to replace that guy, because you can't shrink. Like, Tom, I'm coming right after Tom Brady. What am I going to do? But he's right. There are going to be things that Josh can call that he could never call with Tom. Mm-hmm. But there are also things that Josh could call with Tom that he's not going to call with Cam. But I like the confidence, and Cam has to have that. Cam has to believe that I'm the Cam of old and not an old Cam.
Yep.
So he's going in there with the confidence. He's beating his chest. He's letting you know, I'm coming, guys. I'm coming. I'm ticked off. And he says, you know, I read the article, Skip. He says, I'm looking at the schedule. Oh, you passed over me. You could have had me.
Yeah.
You turned me down.
Yeah.
So all y'all going to feel, all this pain that I'm feeling, y'all going to feel that.
And by the way, New England plays the hardest schedule in the league off last year's one loss. So
Correct.
That's probably music to Belichick's ears. Like, well, good.
Yeah, I want to got us motivated. I want to get back at somebody.
I still don't think nearly enough is being made about how hard it's going to be to replace that legend in that stadium, in that city, in that state and region. This is the most beloved Boston athlete ever. Mm-hmm. And the Boo Birds are going to come out, and it's a tough place. I believe it would be a tough place for a black quarterback to succeed unless they succeed at the highest level, the Brady-esque level.
Yeah.
So my point is, this is extreme pressure and extreme degree of difficulty. And there are very few humans who are capable of stepping into those shoes or those cleats in that stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on my short list would be Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, maybe Patrick Mahomes could now. He could step in and be okay with it without crumbling because it could eat you alive.
Right.
I put Cam near the top of that list because the one thing some people hold against him, that arrogant confidence, that's what you need to do this.
Right.
So I loved what he said because he's right. They can do things that Josh has never thought about doing with Tom Brady. They can come at you differently now.
Right.
And if they're going to have a chance to beat that schedule next year, which with what I think is a mediocre receiving core, running back core, even mediocre line and defense. I think the roster is mediocre. It's the back four, the defensive backs, they're pretty good.
Strength,
That's the strength maybe of the whole team. But my point is, this is going to be hard, and he is unafraid.
Right.
I don't believe if you put him on a lie detector, I don't think he would admit any fear or show any fear of this job.
But Skip, you know the saying says you don't want to be the man that replaced the man. You want to replace the man that replaced the man.
That is correct. This is hard, man.
Skip, the greater the play, especially at that position, Skip, because it's front and center. You know, wide receivers, there's two wide receivers. And so, you know, but when you talk about a quarterback, imagine, you know, Greasy tried to replace Elway. And the guy that tried to replace Marino. Skip, that's not an easy task. You're talking about transcendent players. And so you talk about a guy that's gone to won 6 Super Bowls. And even last year, Skip, he threw for 4,000 yards. So that's what you're walking into. And the fans, think about the success that they've enjoyed. Because even when I played, there were times that we didn't make the playoffs. There were times that Miami didn't make the playoffs. The fans, they don't know anything but playoffs. They don't know anything but deep playoff runs.
Most spoiled fans in the world are those fans.
So now, I mean, 10-6, you better not. They used to 12-4, 13-3, Skip, 14-2. That's what they're used to. There's an immense amount of pressure. But I agree with you. If there's anybody that could stomach and withstand the onslaught of pressure and criticism that's going to come, is him.
Yeah, he's been through this before.
Yes.
He went to Florida with Tim Tebow. They were competing for the job. Then he had to work his way back through Blinn Junior College, national championship. Go to Auburn, national championship. MVP, 15-1, Super Bowl. So he's done all this.
So guess what, Skip? New England is his Blinn Junior College because he got to go prove himself.
He does.
He had to go to Blinn to prove himself. He goes to Auburn and boom, wins the national championship, becomes the #1 overall draft pick. Well, this is his Blinn Junior College moment. He has to go prove himself.
What I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows, Cam might not know, can he take the pounding? Because if Josh is going to start calling Cam-type plays, if he's going to hold the ball a little longer than Tom did, if he's going to run with the ball occasionally and try to run over people, at 31, can he take the hits he used to take? I don't know. So does that limit the playbook a little more than it used to be limited in Carolina?
Well, I don't think, Skip, it would be wise for them to call quarterback power, quarterback ISO, where you pull a guard and the fullback and lead Cam up in the hole.
Unless it's 4th and 1.
Right, 4th and 1 is a do or die. And I think a lot of that's going to have to be on Cam also. Cam, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to know when the journey's over. Everything is not about dying on a hill for, okay? So you have to understand that and get down.
I also love this quote from Cam, very insightful and enlightening. said his agent called him during a workout to tell him the Patriots had interest in signing him, and his first reaction was, I said, hold on. How's me and Belichick going to mesh? Well, that's a good question.
That's what everybody was thinking, Skip.
Well, that's what he said right out of the box.
And Coach Belichick all about say, look here, I'm going to put you in a position to succeed.
Okay, that's what Odell, who's on this conference call, Odell Beckham Jr. said to Cam. He said, no, Belichick will put you in the right place.
And that's what he said, because I've been doing it for 20 years. I put that guy, I propped that guy up. That was a 6th-round draft pick that I propped up, made look good. Cam, I'm about to get you another MVP. That's what Coach Belichick said.
Well, all right. So the point is that if he's going to put Jared Stidham in the starting lineup for game 1, what would the pressure? It'd be excruciating on that poor kid. Yeah. He struggled at Auburn in his 2nd year. He was good in his 1st year, but he struggled. Does he have ability? Yes, he does. Does he have the intangibles? I didn't see him in the second go-around. He was losing his poise and his way and his concentration.
Even at Cam, I think Cam is going into year 10. Even though Cam has the coming off the foot, coming off the shoulder, and yes, he's taken some, he's been battered. He's still better than Stead.
I would hope so.
Stead still don't have that. Stead never have that kind of talent. Even right now, Stead does not have the talent that Cam Newton had 10 years in the league. So...
And remember, they're saying it's a 3-way competition with Brian Hoyer, who's been, well, he's been decent in the league. This is his 3rd stop in New England. And again, Cam's going to be way behind. Those two are going to know this offense a lot.
Brian Hoyer's been in this offense or a semblance of this offense basically his whole career. But Skip, Brian Hoyer is that little donut tire. You put it out, Skip, you go 50 miles, and you just try to get to the nearest filling station, gas station, whatever you call it, and get the tire changed. He's not the guy, he's not the tire that you put on and we good and we gonna roll with. He's a little donut, you put him on and you get to the nearest stop you can before you put down beside the road.
Well, Cam used a jungle analogy the other day about the lions. And lions not actually in the jungle, as you said. But again, he's talking about the elephant in the room. Well, the lion's about to enter the room, and the lion's not going to be afraid of that elephant.
Right.
Yeah. Whew, I hope I'm never compared to a donut tire.
That's not a good one.
No, it makes sense, but maybe not the best.
No mercy.
After Patrick Mahomes got locked up by the Chiefs for the next 12 years, Kurt Warner was asked which quarterback besides Mahomes would he want for that time period. After some thought, the Hall of Famer finally said that he'd take last year's Rookie of the Year, Kyler Murray, because of his impressive throws and timely runs. So, Shannon, what do you think? Do you agree?
Nope. I'm taking Deshaun Watson. Skip, I seen him win at every level. He's from Georgia, so I know his career. Went to Gainesville. The Red Elephants. Clemson, you do what he did, Skip. He might have had the 2 most impressive games ever against Coach Saban. And we know what he represents. And he did it on the biggest stage. And we saw what he's done last year, Skip. And it seems like when the game requires him to be his best, he's able to rise to the occasion. So Kyler Murray had an unbelievable rookie season, but I'm taking Deshaun.
Okay, we're talking about the next 12 years.
Deshaun.
I love Deshaun. I love Kyler a little more. You have been a little skeptical from the start because of his miniature stature. I have been all in since the first night I watched him play as a starting quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. Again, as the cliche goes, dynamite in small packages. I saw dynamite last year, twice against the 49ers within the division, twice against Seattle. I saw dynamite explode on them. This little man has a huge arm. And he has a stout physique that takes the pounding.
He put together. He's solid,
And I don't think Cliff Kingsbury at all maximized or utilized his explosive quickness. He's not as fast as Lamar, but I'm talking about kind of quickness, just where he bolts the pocket, and all of a sudden he's 8 yards up the field. He'll slide. He'll get out of the way, out of harm's way. And if they start to perfect the blend of that occasionally with that arm, listen, the arm's big time. The intangibles are big time.
And Skip, I don't think we should sell Lamar short because
I agree.
I believe that, Skip, as we progress, he'll get better and better at throwing the football. He'll run less and less, and even the design runs will be called less. So I don't think we should shortchange him, but I think we're just looking at it because we don't think his style, the way he's playing right now, lends itself to playing and being productive for the next 12 years. So for me, I would take Deshaun because I think he runs just enough But his arm talent is undeniable.
I still have Kyler with his new receiver, that guy from the Texans.
Yeah,
I got them in the playoffs.
No, I ain't
All right. That is it, guys. That's all the time we have. Will the Cowboys get a deal done? We're back same time tomorrow morning. Have a good day, guys.